Hi everyone. So in this video we are going to be trying to understand the difference between dense vectors and sparse vectors. So we will try to together see in what situations sparse vectors could be more useful than dense vectors, and how are they generated, what are their differences. All of these things we will try to cover in this short discussion. Okay, so so we have on one hand dense vectors and another hand we have sparse vectors. Okay, so let me try to cover it one by one. If I talk about dense vectors, and I should probably start with sparse vectors because dense vectors are something which are new and they were not always there with us. So let's start with sparse vectors. Now the reason they are called sparse because most of the entries are 0. So you can think of sparse vectors as a vector with only 1% of the entries are non-zero. Only 1%, maybe even less than that, are non-zero. Now why it is the case, we will try to understand that by taking one example of trying to create a sparse vector ourselves. Okay, so this is the first point, and the second point is it is usually a high dimensional vector. And when I say high dimensional, it's really huge. The dimension of sparse vectors are really huge. So this is one of the second distinctions that differentiate sparse vectors from dense vectors. And the third point would be they are mostly used in application where keyword based search or any solution related to keyword usage is to be used. Okay, so sparse vectors shines in keyword based solutions, keyword based searches. Now you might be thinking that who cares about keyword based search, but real organization often care about the precision and predictability, and that's where sparse vectors shines. Now if we just take this definition about sparse vector and just reverse it, we get dense vectors. So first of all, most of the entries are, in fact all of the entries are non-zero, and the result of this is because they are obtained by a neural network, and hardly we see a situation where neural network outputs a zero weight. Okay, so they are obtained by a neural network or deep learning. And the second point is that they are really low dimension, and when I say low dimension, its dimension it starts from maybe 380 and max it can go up to 5000 and even 10,000, but not more than that. But in the case of sparse vectors, its dimension can range up to 100k. And why it ranges to 100k, we will try to understand that by taking one concrete example. And the third point is that it is mostly suitable for semantic applications. And the reason they are used for semantic application is because dense vectors capture the semantic aspect of any text document that you might be having. So at this point, I think I should probably start by taking one example. Let's start by sparse vectors. And before starting with that, let's define what is corpus and what is document. So you can think of corpus as collection of document, and in Python terms, you can think of it as list of documents or list of documents. This is our corpus, and document is just a piece of text. Okay, now you can think of a variable called corpus, which is a list of maybe some text, maybe document 1 and document 2, document 3, and so on, right? Document 1, document 2, and document 3. And the idea is that what we get is we get a vectors. I can probably have a vector, so I can have vector 1, vector 2, vector 3, and so on. And this vect1, vect2, and vect3 can either come from sparse vector representation or dense vector representation. Okay, so let's try to think about how sparse vector kind of representation might take the corpus and create the create the sparse vector. So what sparse vector does is, so how sparse vectors are created. So the first step is count all the unique words or tokens in your entire corpus. So the idea is that take your corpus, this corpus can have millions of documents, and try to count the number of unique words, and that number of unique word can be 10k, 20k, or even 100k, and that is where the vector dimension comes in. Now in the second situation, in the second step, what we do is we represent each document as a vector of dimension equal to the number of unique words tokens. Okay, so the idea is that if, let's say, I decide that my number of unique words in my corpus are 10k, what I'll do is I'll be having a vector for doc1, which will be something like entry 1, entry 1, entry 2, and so on up to entry 10k. Okay, so this doc1 will have 10k entry, and similarly doc2, doc3 will be following the similar structure, and this we will continue for all the documents. So how are these entries going to be determined? So you can think of a header or column header for this list as something like words. So for example, the is first word, maybe come is second word, Harry is third word, and so on up to the last word, which is going to be 10,000th word, maybe something like zodiac. I don't know how it came into my mind, but yeah, so this could be a list of our unique vocabulary or unique words. Now what happens is, while creating the doc1, so let me try to create the doc1. The actual doc1 vector would look something like this. In the entry 1, I'll try to see whether the is present in my doc1 or not, because doc1 is essentially a text, right? So the might be present, so I might say 1. Come might not be there, so I might say 0. And in this manner, I can create this kind of vector representation for all the terms in my document, and then this can be repeated for all the collection, all the sets of document. Okay, so you see this issue that we understand. So this 10k come from the unique words from the entire corpus, right? Now my first document might only be having some, I don't know, maybe it depends on your use case, but this document might be having very few words from this 10k words, right? It means that most of the entries are going to be 0, and that's what we talked about here, right? Most of the entries are 0, 1% are non-zero, and even less than 1%. Okay, because the 10k's 1% would be 100, and it might be, you might be dealing with a problem, you might be dealing with a use case where the document length is less than 100, who knows. Okay, so this is how we create sparse vectors, and you now understand why sparse vectors are high in dimension. You now understand why most of the entries are 0, and why keyword based search is useful, because they capture exactly when a term appears as it is. We are not thinking about here the context or maybe semantic aspect of the entire document, but rather the presence and absence of term. Now once you do this kind of system for all the document, what we will be having is a document by term matrix. Okay, and its shape will be, for example, I have a number of document, let's say 2000. So the shape of this matrix will be 2000 by 10,000. And why 10,000? Because 10,000 is the number of unique vocabulary that we assumed here. I hope it makes sense. Okay, so this is known as document by term matrix. And currently we are only looking at document by term matrix in the form of binary 1 or zeros, presence or absence. And then there are many different variations of sparse vectors. So for example, you can have a TF-IDF based representation. You can have split based representation. And what is split we will be talking about. So it is a model trained on a data set called MS Marco. We'll talk about that in a moment. So this is the most basic form of representation that we can have in a sparse vector. Now how dense vectors are created? Now this question we can't answer, right? because it depends on what kind of model you are using, because dense vectors we get from a trained model, pre-trained model, and these vectors are also known as embeddings. So what we do is we take our document 1, we feed it into our embedding model, and what we get in return is a dense vector. Okay, and that dense vector basically represent the meaning of the document semantically, and its dimension ranges from 300 to max it can range to 5k. Okay, and the example that we will be looking at will be having a shape of 384, and the way it will do is we will have a document, we will have a matrix of shape something like, if I take the similar example, I will have 2000 documents. I will have 2000 documents. By each document will have a shape of, let's say, 384, because each document will be represented as a vector. Okay, so document 1 will be represented as vector, but here the vector will be obtained from the embedding model. Okay, now there are various embedding models which we can potentially use, and that too depends on your use case and also the kind of problem that you are dealing with. But the scope of this discussion was to explain how these two vectors differ. Now, one package that we use, and I use personally this package often, is called FastEmbed. Now, the reason I like this package is because of one of its dependencies, and that is, let me show you that, this is the dependency, ONX runtime. What it allow us to do is, it allow us to avoid using PyTorch or TensorFlow altogether. And the reason that might be a good idea for you is because those packages are really huge packages. They install some unnecessary things. But if, let's say, you just have to get some embeddings, you don't really need all those extra dependencies installed. So we can install that by, so I'm on my Colab instance. I can just run this, and this will be installed. Since I had already installed it, so it's already there. Now from this package, we will import 2 pieces of classes, and those 2 pieces of classes are known as text embedding and sparse text embedding. So these 2 classes I'm going to be using. But to be able to use these 2 classes, I need to know what sort of model I have to use. So what I'll do is I'll go to the FastEmbed documentation, and once I am on this page, I'll go into this tab called supported models. Now this tab highlights all the supported text embedding models and also sparse text embedding models. And the thing that you need to take is, you need to take this text. You can use any model depending upon the kind of problem you are dealing with and the system resources you have, because on the right you can see size in GB. So we can decide which one of these models we are going to use. And also for the sparse embeddings also, we will be using this splayed model, which is provided here. Now notice here, it has also given us this vocabulary size. Remember, we talked about this 10K thing. This is what is being displayed here. So the vectors which will be returned by this package will be having this shape. And as we will see in a moment, that we don't need to have this space. Why? Because let me explain you something. Here, since most of the entries are 0, we don't need to, store those entries. We can just basically measure the indices which are non-zero. So for example, this out of these 10K, maybe 100 might have non-zero entries. So what I can do is I can create 2 arrays, and those 2 arrays could be something like values, which will be here, values will be 111. But in other situations, as I discussed earlier, if I am looking at a TF-IDF based representation, we can have a different sort of value, and another would be indices. So I'm just looking at those indexes which are non-zero. So first indices is non-zero, then second I don't need, then we have third. And in Python, we indexes start from 0, so I'll write 2 and so on up to, and I also see that last index is also 0, so 10K. So I only store indices, and these would be only 100. So I don't need to create this giant 10K dimension vector. I can just get away with storing values and indices. Okay, coming back to this supported models, this FastEmbed, by the way, does not only support text and sparse text embedding, it also supports some other type of embedding such as image embedding models, Then we have something known as late interaction text embedding models, and also re-rank, which is very important in vector search application, which I can cover in some other videos. So yeah, so let's start using these vectors, these models. So I'll import first of all these two classes, and then let me create a list of documents, or maybe I should say I should call it corpus. I can have the first document and the second document. First document can be something like India is planning to invest heavily in AI in coming 10 years. Okay, then India is one of the largest growing economies of world. Okay, let's take these two sentences, these two documents, and let's try to create two instances. First is text embedding, or maybe text vector, maybe, because I just like this name, and inside this I need to provide the model name, and you can also leave it empty, and by default it is going to use this model, and you see this model is going to return a dimension of 384. Now this is our text vector, and then we have our, or I should rather say dense vector, sorry, sparse vector, and I can have sparse text embedding, and here also I need to get some model, and I can take this, and if I run this, these will be loaded. Now currently you won't see anything, and the reason is that because I had already used these before in my notebook, they are already downloaded, and the Colab is extracting those models from the cache. Now in your case it will start downloading. And also one more thing which I did not mention at this point is that this model is being taken from Hugging Face, and Hugging Face requires you to provide a secret key. So you see this, I have enabled this notebook access. All the other keys are not enabled, but this HF token is enabled because you have to enable it. And where do you get this key? You can get this key for free from Hugging Face. Okay, so this is something which I wanted to mention, and it is very important. This was not asked right now because these models are already downloaded in my cache. Okay, I hope it makes sense, and if you have any doubt, just drop a comment and I'll cover this in much more detail. Okay, so once I have this these two models available, so what I can do is I can call embed method on the corpus. Now notice here, when you run this, you will not get results right away, because to save the memory, because in real life situations you might be having thousands of documents, and Python want to assume that you don't want to get all the results right away in the memory. So this returns a generator object. To convert it, since we are only dealing with two documents, we can convert it in a list right away. And if I run this, we will get a list of two vectors. Okay, so this is the first vector, and if I get my first vector and check the shape, you will see I am getting a shape of 384. And now let's try to do this for sparse vector. Now sparse vector I cannot call shape, but let's see what do we get. Now sparse vector is going to return a sparse embedding. Notice, remember that it was supposed to have a dimension of 30,000, but that was not a dimension, that was a vocab size, right? And if you recall, I talked about values and indices, and that's what it is storing, right? It is storing only values. Now what is indices? What does that mean? That means in the vocabulary of this displayed model, at the location 2041, there might be a word called India, which is being given a value of this. Now instead of giving a value of 1, Splade is giving some sort of floating point value, and you don't need to worry about how this has been obtained. Obviously you can go ahead and try to look at how exactly the training process looked like, but the point is that you don't need to worry about that right now. Okay, similarly 2051 might be corresponding to is, and then planning, and so on and so forth. Okay, so all these tokens are given indices. Now just to make sure, so for example, just to show you one thing, okay, never mind. So the point is that we get this sparse embedding objects which has these values and indices, and they are sparse because most of the entries are 0, only some entries are non-zero, and that's what being stored here. So I hope that this small, not small, this video is now 25 minutes long, but I hope whatever I try to discuss made sense to you. If you would want me to cover anything specific to this in much more detail, you can drop me a comment or email me. I can try to cover that in later videos. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.